Hey guys, wanted to get back in the lab and get ahead of you here with a couple of videos just to show you some of the things that you're doing in these Amatrol e-learning labs. So the next one that we're putting out here is DC series motors. And, it's labeled as number one, but, actually we did DC generators first. And so we went through all the basics and fundamentals of the trainer, what the different controls do and so forth and so on. So, we're already there with that. So this is, I'm just going to kind of stick to the procedures here, and if you're looking at this skill one, the first thing it's called connect and operate a DC series motor. Goes through all the setup of the trainer, which, we've already done all this, right? So we know how all this works. We've identified the trainer, the number and so forth and so on. So I'll spare you all that. And, we just move ahead here. And so what we're looking at here is, a DC series motor that is wired up for series operation. There's one thing in here that I will point out to you. There's a caution note on this page. It says a DC series motor should never be connected without a load. And we have an equation for that that tells us why that is. And I'm sort of scooting around the camera here, so if the sound sounds a little weird. But so, we always want to make sure that we have a load connected to the motor, or we'll get into that runaway condition that we talked about. As you can also see, and there I had a load on this, but as you can see, I've mounted a drum here, the 3-inch brake drum, and it is going to be used along with the Prony brake. And this is how we will apply a load to this DC motor. There's all this particular detail about how to mount this on the shaft and all that. And, thinking through this and all this is better something that when you come in here and we get these things scheduled, we will go through the particulars of that, at that time. We sit here and talk about it when you look at it in the book, but it's really, really one of those hands-on kind of things that you have to do. And so, going through this, the first thing, again, it's more of an identification of, everything and where everything is, and lining all the different parts up and all. And then we get over to the first connection, which in this lap book, it's page 45, but, it is a schematic diagram that is showing us, see how close I can get here in this focus. It's a schematic diagram that's showing us how to wire up this motor for series operation. And we see all these things that we've already studied, such as the series winding connections, the interpoles, the A1 and A2, that's the commutator armature connections, armature 1, armature 2, and then it's showing the commutator that goes along with that. And so, again, as I've told you before, these motor circuits tend to be very simple. And so if I'm doing this, just find a good starting point. So I'm going to start with the positive side of the DC power supply. You've got an AC supply and a DC supply, but I'm going to go to the positive side, and I'm going to connect that to S1, which is the series winding. This is internal, right? I don't want to connect across there. I'll short the windings out. I come out on the other side of this, S2, and from S2, I'm going to plug that into C1, which is commutating pole connection first, or number 1. And then I come out of C2, and I take C2 into the armature, A1, and then I come out of the armature of A2, and I connect that to the negative of the power supply, okay? So, I know I've got this all connected up. I'm also got the emphasis there to make sure that I have the green ground wire. We always want to have a ground, earth ground. We'll talk maybe some more about very particular use of earth ground in relation to electrical machines. Of course, we've talked about it in other ways as well. And then you know, from there, you know, the wiring and some particulars, but I want to get ahead here, not just to take up your time, but it says, you know, go ahead and power this up. Notify the instructor that you're ready. Okay. So when I'm doing this, I like to start with the main breaker here, which supplies power to this. And then, you know, I'm going to bump this up here just a little bit so I'll have a little bit of a load on this motor. You know, DC motor needs a load on there because with a series motor without a load, it can get into a runaway condition. I've got my variable voltage at 0, and then I turn the key switch and I cut it on. And he says, increase the speed of the motor shaft by slowly turning the variable AC/DC voltage to 20%. Okay, it should start to turn. We may hear some chatter from the phony brake, but we've already gotten beyond that. And, you know, so I've got it at 20%, everything seems fine. You know, so he says I can take it up to 40 if I need to. Maybe I'll go a little more, make this a little smoother. I'll put it around 30. And notice that I've got a load on this. Now let's listen to the motor when I take the load off. Okay, and that's a very small voltage. Now you can imagine if I had that at a very high voltage, how fast that motor would be turning. So anyway, main thing here, we will always want to have some load attached to this DC series motor. Then he goes on to say, looking through this, to set the load to around 8 ounces. So I do that by here, okay? And we can hear the motor slows down, right, as the load increases. I should have some water in the brake drum, which I will do here. There's already some in there. So fuse. Okay. And let's see, what else are we doing here? Slowly increase the voltage up to 50%. Okay. And then, you know, it just says, you know, walk through this, you know, stopping and starting the motor and what does it look like and so forth. Again, I can increase the load here. You know, it's going to slow down. I back off of it here. And again, here's that thing about no load, right? Let's see where things speed up as we get to no load. But anyway, we're going to leave it there around 8 ounces. And as I see this, and as I remember skill 1, that is all we're doing is, you know, we're just basically making sure that we know how to use our motor trainer and how to do all this connection. And so this is really skill 1. And I will end this here, and we'll get ready for skill 2 in the next video.